Most beginner guides for Arknights Endfield try to teach you everything, and that's exactly why most new players get overwhelmed. In this video, I'm going to show you what actually matters when you start, and what you can safely ignore until much later. If you remember only one thing from this video, let it be this: you do not need to understand every system right now. Arknights Endfield has a lot of depth, but early on, only a small number of systems actually affect your progress. If you focus on the wrong things too early, you'll waste resources and slow yourself down. So let's start with what really matters. First, let's talk about characters and why rarity can be misleading. Characters in Endfield range from 4 stars to 6 stars. But 4-star characters are not weak. In fact, many 4-star units fill very specific roles and scale extremely well when used correctly. Early in the game, roles and mechanics matter far more than rarity. So don't fall into the trap of judging characters only by their star rating. Now let's move on to the most important mental framework in the game: roles. Instead of thinking in terms of individual characters, you should think in terms of roles. There are 2 main categories. First, DPS roles. Guards and casters deal high damage, while also applying physical or elemental effects. Strikers, on the other hand, don't apply elements themselves. Instead, they exploit existing elemental effects to deal massive burst damage when the conditions are right. Then we have support roles. Vanguards focus on generating SP for the team. Defenders provide protection through defense, buffs, or healing. Supports often combine healing with offensive buffs to improve overall performance. Strong teams are built around role balance, not rarity. Skills. Each character has 4 active skills, represented by the orbs shown on the interface, as well as 2 passive skills displayed below. Basic attacks. The first active skill represents the character's basic attacks. All characters on the battlefield will perform basic attacks automatically. However, the currently controlled operator is the only one that can execute a final attack. This final attack occurs at the end of a basic attack string and generates a large amount of stagger, while also regenerating SP. SP is represented by the yellow bars on the interface. This resource is required to cast character battle skills. Character battle skills. These skills do not have cooldowns, but each cast consumes 1 full SP bar, which equals 100 SP. On the right side of the screen, you can cast the battle skill of any character in your team. Since there are no cooldowns, you can technically cast the same character's skill repeatedly. However, in practice, a well-built and synergistic team will rotate skills between characters to maximize efficiency and synergy. Combo skills. Combo skills do not consume SP, but they do have a cooldown and can only be activated under specific conditions. Combos are one of the most important elements of team synergy. When your team successfully creates the conditions required for a combo, an icon will appear on the screen, allowing you to activate that specific combo manually. Ultimate skill. The ultimate skill, which is the most powerful attack in a character's kit. To use it, you must first fill the character's energy bar. Next is the element system. There are 5 elements in Arknights: physical, fire, ice, lightning, and nature. Each element has its own effects, and some of them can interact with each other. Combustion is triggered by first applying non-heat elemental effects, then immediately applying the heat element afterward. Solidification is triggered by first applying non-cryo elemental effects, then immediately applying the cryo element afterward. Electrification is triggered by first applying non-electric elemental effects, then immediately applying the electric element afterward. And finally, corrosion is triggered by first applying non-nature elemental effects, then immediately applying the nature element afterward. And this is buff effect. It reduces enemies' resistance against all elements. But here's the important rule you should remember. Most effective teams focus on one main element, or at most two, not all five. You don't need to memorize every elemental interaction right now. Just understand this principle. Element focus is far more important than element variety. Next, let's talk about stats and what you actually need to know early on. Each character has 4 attributes: strength, agility, intellect, and willpower. But you only need to understand one key concept. The primary stat, shown in gold, is what your character's damage mainly scales from. The secondary stat, shown in gray, also improves damage, but to a lesser degree. Early game rule: always prioritize the primary stat. The secondary stat comes later. There are exceptions to this rule, but those are advanced topics and not beginner mistakes you need to worry about yet. Levels. Each character can be leveled from level 1 to level 99. As you level up, characters gain attack, HP, defense, and even increases to their attributes. Every 20 levels, characters hit a level cap that must be broken in order to continue progressing. You'll see the different level caps that can be broken: 20, 40, 60, and 80. Breaking a level cap requires 2 types of materials. First is a blue triangle material, which can be obtained through world exploration or by farming energy stages. The second is a mushroom-type material, which is a nature object gathered directly from the open world. And the final is T-Red, which is you have to spend Sanity Got It. The single most important progression milestone for any character you plan to use seriously is breaking the level 60 cap. Why is level 60 so important? Because once you break the level 60 cap, you unlock the ability to equip gold equipment, which is the best equipment in the game. I'll go into more detail about equipment later, but this is where real builds begin. Anything before gold equipment is not something you should stress too much about. What truly matters is the gold gear, which you can keep and optimize from level 60 onward. That's why breaking the level 60 cap is absolutely critical. Potentials. Finally, we have potentials. When you obtain duplicate characters, you can unlock up to 5 potential nodes, each one making the character progressively stronger. From what I've seen so far, 6-star character potentials are not particularly impactful, so there isn't a strong incentive to whale specifically for duplicates, at least at the moment. One major advantage of 4-star characters, however, is that you obtain duplicates very frequently. This allows you to max out their potentials quite early, making them significantly more useful than their rarity might suggest. Finally, let's talk about what you can safely ignore early on. You do not need to stress about perfect gear rolls. You do not need to push skill levels beyond what you actively use. And you definitely do not need to worry about endgame factory optimization. All of these systems matter later, but learning them too early only creates confusion. In this video, I wanted to give you a mental framework, not overwhelm you with numbers. In the next video, I'll go much deeper into skills, weapons, and proper character progression step by step. If you're just getting started, this foundation is all you need. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next guide.